Meet Ronnie, the Jighead. He's a serious fisherman. And he fishes out of a rowboat. He's not afraid. He's psyched. Because Ronnie loves to catch big fish.
Look at the belly on that fish.
And he catches those fish with his favorite lure, the jig. Let's go to Lunkerville.
It seems in every town in America that there's a secret fishing spot where the water runs clear and the bass are always biting. And at that spot, there's an unsung hero who knows every stump, laydown, and lily pad. Seems all he's got to do is wet a line. And sure enough, he's reeling in a big bass. So if you're looking for real people with real fish stories, then hop a ride. We're going to Lunkerville.
It's a very interesting time of the year because it is the month of April. Water temperatures are in the 50s. So these fish will be moving up, hopefully the bigger fish, which is what we're after. We're going to be targeting a lot of deep water and bluffs, primarily a lot of areas where the channel runs very close to the shore, which is a fantastic staging area for the bigger fish.
What's that for?
That's just to rest my rods on. You know, these aluminum boats have very rough edges, and your rods take a beating on that stuff.
So tell me a little bit about this body of water. How big is it?
We have a little, it's a little over 2,000 acres. The other end of it exceeds 100 feet. This section here runs to approximately 40 to 45 feet of water. This is essentially the inlet. There's one little corner here where, as I said, the creek channel butts right up to the shore, and that's a target point that we want to be on. We're just about on it. So if I move out a little bit, you'll see how dramatically she'll start to drop. You notice that? How quickly it's dropping?
Oh yeah.
That's because we're right on a creek channel right now. Just a little further down, it comes even closer to shore, but typically from here is a good start. So, well, there's one fish suspended already. The fish is suspended at 20 feet over 26 feet. Right now we're tossing a football jig on a hula grub for this area where we're deeper. And as we get into the wood and some of the areas that are a little tighter to shore, we'll be throwing a different type of jig.
So talk to me a little bit how you're working that jig.
What we're doing is, again, due to the water being a little on the colder side, well, it's not really cold, but if it was summer, I would be hopping it and working it a little faster. Right now, I'm just generally just inching it along the bottom.
Dragging it?
I'm dragging it, yes. Typically, this time of the year, the fish have a tendency to be what I call looking up, meaning that they're primarily feeding on bait fish. Crayfish have a tendency to start roaming and coming out as the water warms a bit. That doesn't mean that it won't bite a jig, but I feel that it's always better to work the jig much slower now to give them a little more time to to focus on, as I said, generally because the fish have a tendency to be looking up, generally.
Are you seeing anything on the graph there?
Well, I'm not watching that for fish. I just want to make sure that, you know, as you could see, we're in 28.5 feet of water and we're very close to shore. That's because the channel swings right up very tight to this bank. Where I'm actually throwing is in about 10 feet of water, and I'm working it out just off the drop of the channel. It tends to be what I like to call a pressure hit. So you don't generally feel when they hit the jig. As the water warms up and the fish become a little more active, when they are active, you tend to get a thunk on the jig, and it's generally very distinguishable. But when the water's cold like this, and especially if they're a little on the inactive side, it could be very difficult to detect the bite. This part of the shore that we're approaching now tends to have a lot of brush, so we're going to change tactics up a little bit now. We're going to go in a little closer to shore. We're going to put on a lighter, different type of a jig, and we're going to explore some of that brush. That's another great thing about a jig, is that when you're fishing these type of places, it gives such great feedback. You know exactly what's down there.
Tell me exactly what your rod and reel setup is there.
This is a Shimano Chronarch. This is a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. This has 30 inches of IPT, inches per turn. That's, again, for me, that's very important, because when jig fishing, particularly in bluffy areas like this, the fish have a tendency to run under the boat like this one just did, and it's very difficult to keep up with them without dropping them. This feels like a nice fish.
Oh yeah.
It's about 3 and change.
We'll take that any
Nice
day.
little specimen. What happened there was I felt a little tap, but at the same time I saw my line starting to move, which is how I knew it was a fish. Otherwise it would have been very difficult to detect, simply because, as I said, with all the brush that's down there, sometimes it could be a challenge to distinguish the difference between, on the initial hit, between the brush, or a fish. So I'm a huge line watcher. I call this Iron Man fishing. Because when you're done with this, at the end of the day, there's not a muscle or a bone that doesn't hurt. But I'll tell you what, it's just an incredible workout. Much better than anything you'll ever do at the gym. That's for sure.
Well, they do this at the gym. They have rowing machines.
No, not the same thing. Not the same thing, because here you're twisting in all different positions, and you're working.
And you get to fish.
Every bone and every muscle. That's not the case in the gym. Now you see things like this. You see that tree is coming all the way out. At this time of the year, the fish will have a tendency to hold just outside of the crown. Now right at the edge of that tree, you have 15 feet of water, so you have plenty of depth. There's one. As I said, they'll be right up against those trees sometimes. Not a very big fish, but a nice fish.
Little fatty.
Not bad. Not what
bad
we're
at all.
after, but not bad.
Let's see her.
She's about 2 pounds. Very healthy. Look at the belly on that. She's feeding very nicely. Very healthy fish. So that fish was exactly where I was expecting it to be. It was right on the edge of that outer wood, which was in about 15 feet of water.
You have the lighter jig on.
I have the lighter jig on. Gives us just better control, a little bit of a slower fall for them to be able to eye it, and plus a lighter jig just works so much better through the wood. I'm a structure fisherman, so it's very important for me when I go out for the first time, depending on the season, I like to look for key things such as stone walls, road beds. These are just highways for fish that they travel back and forth, particularly if you have stone walls coming in and out of spawning coves. This time of the year, you know, during the pre-spawn, those are great areas to fish. There's so many rocks down there. I can just feel my jig stair-stepping its way down. And that's just so great. Usually when you come off one and down to the other is when they'll slam it. There's one. That's a nicer fish. That's about a 2.5 pound. Nice. Look at that fat belly. Very
Beautiful.
healthy, well-fed fish. The most important thing is, when it comes to fishing jigs, and I noticed this with a lot of fishermen, is that they're afraid to lose their lure. And I have to say that that's the biggest mistake that a lot of people make. And one of the biggest reasons why they are ineffective with jigs. They're afraid to lose their lure. And for the most part, unless you throw a jig in the nastiest cover that you can find, you're gonna miss out on a lot of fish. Then we have a really nice tree coming in here. That's also out in very deep. That goes down to approximately 17 feet. Another ideal location for this time of the year. See the crown on the depth finder? We haven't fished enough trees to know whether or not the trees are a part of the pattern, but some of the brush has certainly been. And you'd be surprised how the brush can be a pattern and the trees will not. I know that may sound funny, but I've seen it happen too many times. There's a fish.
Oh yeah.
Another little 2 and change. Very healthy fish.
Extremely healthy.
Look at the belly on that. Beautiful. Very well fed. Beautiful colors. No markings whatsoever. Just extremely, extremely healthy. Beautiful fish.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about your jig?
Not really.
Okay. Is it secret?
No, it's not secret, but,
There's nothing special about the color or the trailer.
well, everything about it is special, but we won't talk about it now.
You'll have to pause the DVR. Take a close look at that thing.
This will color a little bit because it's really bright orange.
What are you doing there?
Just coloring the line a little bit.
You're coloring the line.
Give it a little bit of a stealthier look.
And that's just a Sharpie?
Yes, it is. Okay, so now we're working our way into an inlet. You have a lot of water coming in over there. We're going to see when we get back there. I'm keeping a very close eye on the temperature. Right now we have 56.9. Generally tends to be warmer back there due to the inflow. Sometimes I've seen it as much as a 10-degree difference, which for this time of the year can just be huge. That being the case, you could have a good amount of fish bunched up back there. But again, we'll see once we get back there what we're doing with the water temperatures. Now, of course, sometimes the reverse is true. Sometimes the main lake could be warmer than the actual inlet. So we'll see how that works out. Hopefully it'll work out in our favor. We'll get some warmer water. There's a fish. Oh, that feels like a nicer fish. Oh, yeah. That's a nicer fish. That's what we've been looking for. Oh, yeah. That's what we're looking for.
Ooh.
That's what we're talking about.
Wow, what a pig. She inhaled that jig.
Yes, she did. Big fish love jigs. Look at the belly on that fish. Out of curiosity, let's see what she weighs. Very healthy fish. Nice blotch on the tail there. See that black blotch?
Mm-hmm.
£4, 11 ounces.
Nice.
That's a real healthy fish. Beautiful. Look at that stomach. Very well fed. Nothing down the gullet, but very well fed. Let's let her go. Fight another day. Perfect.
Beautiful.
That's what we're looking for. Okay, let's catch a few more of those.